The sky turned orange. The ground shook. And without warning, the first wave of alien war machines landed near Outpost Theta 9. Private Jace Rowan didn't expect much from his last patrol shift. It was supposed to be boring, just to scan around the perimeter and back to base for noodles. But boredom ended the moment the scanner picked up a strange signal, fast, erratic, and heading straight toward the Earth's defense grid. He tapped. His comms. "Base, I've got something incoming, unknown, definitely not a bird." But before he could finish, a massive explosion lit the horizon. Fire, smoke, screams, and then silence. Jace's vehicle flipped. His helmet cracked. When he came to, the entire outpost was gone. What remained was a massive crater, and something metallic moving in the smoke. At first, Jace reached for his rifle, thinking it was an enemy, drone. But then the figure stepped closer. Not a drone. Not fully. She had the shape of a woman, tall, athletic, with sleek silver armor that pulsed with blue lights. Half her face was covered in a glowing metal plate. Her eyes were sharp, one human green, the other neon cyber blue. And her voice? It made Jace freeze. "There you are," she said softly. "I've finally found you, my husband." "What?" Jace stumbled backward. "Who the hell are you?" She tilted her head, confused. "You don't remember?" "No," he said, heart racing. "I've never seen you before." The girl walked closer, her metallic boots pressing into the ash. "Your memory was wiped. Standard protocol after the collapse, but I never stopped looking." Jace raised his weapon. "Back off." She didn't flinch. Instead, she opened a compartment on her arm. A small, glowing cube floated out. As it hovered in front of Jace, it displayed a holographic image. He saw himself, standing beside her, smiling. In the image, his arm was around her waist, and then she whispered, "You promised to protect me. You even said you'd die before leaving me behind." Jace's hands trembled. He had no memory of this, but somehow, the emotion in her voice felt real. She looked up at the sky. "They'll be here soon. The second wave. You have to come with me." "Wait, what second wave? Who's attacking?" She didn't answer. Instead, she scanned the sky with glowing eyes and pulled him behind a scorched wall. "Listen, Jace, I don't have time to explain everything, but you were part of something big. Project Genesis. You were the only human who volunteered." "Volunteered for what?" he snapped. "Bonding with a synthetic," she replied. "With me." He blinked. "This is insane." But before he could finish, the air shook again. This time louder, closer. Warships roared overhead. The second invasion wave had begun. The girl grabbed his arm. "You're not safe here. I will protect you, even if you don't remember me." He stared into her mismatched eyes. Half human, half machine. Somewhere, deep inside, a flicker of memory stirred. Then came the sound of a laser blast, and the wall beside them exploded. She threw herself over him. Everything went black. Smoke filled Jace's lungs as he coughed and pushed rubble off his chest. His ears rang. The wall had collapsed from the blast, and everything around him looked like the aftermath of a bomb. Twisted metal, burning debris, and the faint glow of plasma fire. He blinked, his vision blurry. Something moved above him. The cyborg girl, she, was shielding him with her body, her back scorched, the metal on her shoulder plate half melted. Yet her glowing eye still blinked, her expression unreadable. "You okay?" she asked calmly as if nothing had happened. "I think so," he muttered, sitting up. "You took the hit for me?" "You're my husband," she said. "It's my job." He shook his head. "Stop saying that. I don't even know your name." She looked hurt for a second, but only for a second. Then she stood and held out her hand. "My name is Kale 3. You used to call me Kale." Jace ignored her hand and stood on his own. "Where the hell are we?" Kale looked around. "Still near the ruins of Theta 9, but not safe for long. The enemy is scanning for survivors. Enemy? Jace asked. Who are they? She paused. You really don't remember anything? Jace clenched his jaw. No. Just yesterday I was guarding supply routes. Today I wake up with a metal woman calling me her husband while the sky explodes. Kyle didn't smile. Instead, she lifted her left arm and tapped a few buttons. A hologram appeared, red dots moving fast on a grid. They're mercenaries hired by the Zoran Syndicate, paid to eliminate all Earth-affiliated soldiers. You're on their list. Jace looked at her suspiciously. How do I know you're not one of them? She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she walked over to a dead mercenary on the ground and ripped a symbol off his armor, a red triangle with a jagged Z in the center. Then she showed him the same mark, burned into the metal of her shoulder. They branded me when they stole me from the lab. I escaped. You helped me. Jace narrowed his eyes. You said I volunteered. For what? To bond, she said softly. My creators were making a new kind of fighter, part flesh, part machine. But I was unstable until you were assigned to me. Jace frowned. Assigned? Yes. They needed a human link, a mental anchor, and you somehow made me stable. He folded his arms. So this whole wife thing, was it real? Or part of some experiment? Kale turned away. Her voice was lower now. At first it was a mission, but you started calling me your partner. You even took me away from the lab. You said we deserved to choose our own lives. He didn't know what to believe. But something about the sadness in her tone made him hesitate. Still, a new question burned in his mind. If all that is true, he said slowly, why was my memory wiped? Kale turned back to him, her face serious. Because you knew too much. You weren't supposed to fall in love with me. It broke the chain of command. So they wiped me and sent me to a backwater post? She nodded. To keep you quiet, to keep us apart. He felt dizzy. None of this made sense. But at the same time, it felt too real to be fake. Kale stepped closer. You don't have to believe me yet. But we need to leave. I can't protect you alone. Jay studied her, unsure. Then another blast rocked the area. Not close, but not far either. She didn't flinch. They've landed north of here. We have maybe 20 minutes before drones sweep this zone. Finally, Jace nodded. All right, let's get out of here. She gave a small smile, the first he'd seen. Follow me. They ran through the ruins together. Jace noticed how smoothly she moved. Even with one leg mechanical, she was faster and quieter than most humans. He also noticed she kept looking back, checking if he was okay, watching his steps. She really did act like someone who cared about him. Too much. They reached a tunnel under the collapsed barracks. She stopped and opened a hidden panel. A bright green light scanned her face, then opened a hidden door. Inside was a small underground safe room, supplies, water, medical gear, a tiny sleeping area. How do you know all this stuff? Jace asked. You and I built this room together, she replied. When we planned to run. Jace looked around. It did feel like something he'd set up. Tools labeled just like he used them, his handwriting on a crate. Still, something itched at the back of his brain. She was hiding something. As he sat and drank water, he asked, Kale, if we were so close, why didn't you come find me sooner? Her face froze. There were complications, she said quickly. After your memory wipe, I was marked for destruction. I had to fake my death. It took me time to rebuild, to track you down. He stared at her. And you expect me to believe all of this? She walked over and sat beside him. I don't expect anything, she said softly. But I need your help now. We're not just running. We're being hunted. Because of what's inside you. He blinked. Inside me. She reached into her belt and pulled out a device, a scanner. She aimed it at his chest. A faint glow responded. You're carrying a memory shard, she said, hidden in your body. It has the coordinates to the lab, the last copy of Project Genesis data. Jace's heart pounded. You mean? That's why they're after me? She nodded. And it's also why I need you alive. He looked down. At his chest. At the faint glow under his shirt. Everything had changed. Jace stared down at his chest, where a soft glow now pulsed beneath his skin. It wasn't bright, but it was real. Something was inside him. Is that thing alive? He asked, voice shaking slightly. Kale 3 stood beside him holding the scanner steady. No, but it's active now. It must have recognized me nearby. It's responding to our bond. He stepped away from her, hand over his chest. You mean to tell me I've been walking around with a piece of top-secret alien tech in my body? This whole time, without knowing it? Kyle nodded. That shard holds more than just coordinates. It contains the entire final backup of Project Genesis. All files, logs, and test data, including mine. Jace's thoughts raced. He had no memory of any of this. No memory of the mission. No memory of her. But somehow, he believed her. Why did they put it inside me? He asked. Why not hide it in a vault or something? Kale sat down on the edge of the safe room bed, her voice calm but sad. Because vaults can be hacked, labs can be bombed. But you were off-grid. After we escaped, we planned to hide the shard where no one would look. Inside you. He looked at her, still unsure. And you're saying this thing could either save Earth or destroy it? Yes, she said. Because if the data falls into the wrong hands like the Zoran Syndicate, they'll learn how to mass-produce beings like me. Perfect, loyal, emotionless killing machines. But you're not emotionless. No, she replied quietly. Because of you. Jace looked away. Her voice was soft but full of something strange, like regret, like love. He didn't know what scared him more, the glowing shard in his chest or the possibility that he had loved her once. Outside, the sound of drones filled the air. Kale's eyes glowed brighter. They're near. We need to move soon. Jace grabbed a small blaster from the supply crate. What's the plan? We head east. There's an extraction ship hidden underground at Sector 12. You and I designed it for emergency escape. Of course we did, Jace muttered. Kale activated her wrist pad, bringing up a holomap. We have two options. Go through the ruins of Black Ridge or take the tunnels under Old Base Sigma. Which one is safer? She looked at him. Neither. But the tunnels will at least keep us hidden longer. Jace nodded. Let's do it. They packed quickly. Food, weapons, emergency injectors. Before leaving, Kale handed him a small, glowing disc. Wear this near your chest. It'll stabilize the shard signal and stop it from overheating. Overheating? If the shard becomes unstable, it could explode. He blinked. Of course it could. They moved fast through the shadows, slipping under collapsed structures and quiet piles of metal. The air smelled of burning plastic and chemicals. Distant blasts lit the sky, but their path was quiet. For now. Kale moved like a ghost. Fast, silent, always scanning ahead. Jace followed close, but he couldn't stop thinking. A part of him wanted to trust her. Her eyes, her voice, the way she kept protecting him. But another part, the soldier inside, still asked one big question. What if she's lying? What if this is all some trick to extract the shard? Kyle, he said as they walked. What happens if I remove the shard? She didn't stop. If it's removed carelessly, it'll self-destruct and everything inside will be lost. He frowned. So what if I don't want this? What if I just destroy it now? This time she stopped, turned, looked him straight in the eyes. Then you doom Earth. The Syndicate will win. And I die with you. He didn't expect that. You'd die too, she nodded. The shard is bonded to both our biosignatures. If it breaks without a synchronized override, we both go. He looked down again. That glow beneath his skin. So small but so powerful. They walked the rest of the way in silence. By nightfall, they reached the edge of Base Sigma. It had been abandoned for years. Just bones of old tech and rusted doors now. Kyle knelt near. "A vent and pried it open. Inside," she whispered. Jace crawled in first. The air inside the tunnel was cold and damp. Water dripped from somewhere above. The silence was heavy. They moved for about 15 minutes in the dark, lit only by Kale's eye and a small flashlight Jace carried. Then he heard something. Metal, scraping, from behind. "Kale." "I hear it," she said immediately, aiming her plasma blade backward. They stopped, waited. Suddenly, a red laser beam flashed over their heads. "Incoming," she shouted, pushing him down. A drone burst from the shadows, its blades spinning, its eyes glowing red. Kyle didn't hesitate. She lunged forward, slicing the drone's arm off, then stabbed it through the core. Sparks flew. More footsteps echoed from deeper in the tunnel. Jace aimed his blaster and fired at the shadows. A second drone dropped, sparking. Kale turned to him, panting. "They've found us. We have to run." "But the tunnels. No time." They ran again, turning left, ducking low, sliding through gaps in walls and broken pipes. Behind them, the tunnel exploded. Heat, fire, shrapnel. The syndicate was done playing. They finally burst out of a vent, rolling into a shallow forest just outside the base. Jace coughed, covered in dirt and soot. Kale's arm was cracked, leaking glowing fluid, but she still stood over him, eyes scanning. Then she said, "We're close, just 2 miles north." He sat up. "Kyle." She looked at him. "If we get to that ship," he said, breathing hard, "what happens then?" She looked down, quiet. "Then, you'll have to make a choice." "What kind of choice?" "To destroy the shard, or unlock it." Jace stared at her. "And unlocking it," he said slowly, "might bring all your memories back." She nodded. "But it will also bring danger. People will come after us forever." His hand rested near the glow in his chest. He looked at her again. This time, he wasn't sure if he was afraid of remembering her or afraid of falling for her all over again. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Jace and Kale 3 moved slowly through thick trees and wet leaves. The distant hum of drones was gone now. But that didn't make Jace feel safe. In fact, the silence made his skin crawl even more. "Are you sure this is the right place?" he asked, holding his blaster close. Kyle didn't answer right away. Her glowing eye blinked twice. Then she turned toward a moss-covered boulder and tapped her wrist panel. A hidden panel rose from the ground. A steel circle covered in vines and dust. "We're here," she said. Jace raised an eyebrow. "That's the ship?" Kale walked to the panel and placed her palm on a scanner. A low whir started beneath them. The ground trembled slightly. Slowly, the circular hatch slid open, revealing a spiral staircase going deep underground. She looked back at Jace. "This way. Hurry." The tunnel below was cold and metallic. Lights flickered on as they walked down. Faint blue lights. Old, but still working. The path led to a small hangar hidden beneath the forest. Inside stood a sleek black stealth ship, long and smooth like a blade. Jace couldn't lie. It was beautiful and powerful looking. "You and I built this?" he asked. Kyle nodded. "Took us 6 months. It's fully cloaked, AI piloted, and shielded against scans. It was our escape plan before everything went wrong." Jace stepped toward it, running his hand across the cold hull. "I wish I could remember." Kale was silent for a second. Then she said quietly, "Maybe. That's a good thing." He turned to her. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. "The mission was dangerous. You suffered. You sacrificed a lot to protect me. Sometimes I think forgetting it all might have been a gift." Before Jace could respond, the ship's lights suddenly flashed red. "Intruder detected." "Intruder detected," Kale spun around. "Someone's here." From the shadows behind the ship, a tall figure stepped out. He wore black armor, heavy and spiked, with the Zaron Syndicate symbol glowing red on his chest. "Going somewhere, lovebirds?" he growled, voice mechanical. Jace raised his blaster. "Who the hell are you?" The man removed his helmet. Jace froze. It was him. His own face stared back at him, older, scarred, and twisted with rage. Kale's voice trembled. Unit checks 9. Jace looked at her. What? That's me? No, she whispered. That's the clone. The backup version of you they made after your memory was erased. A corrupted copy. The clone smirked. You were always soft, Kyle. Bonding with him was your biggest mistake. Why are you here? Kyle demanded. The clone stepped forward. To complete the mission. The shard belongs to the Syndicate. And the girl, he pointed at Kale, belongs in the lab, disassembled. Over my dead body, Jace said. That can be arranged. The clone moved fast. Too fast for a normal human. Jace barely dodged the first strike. His blaster was knocked from his hand. Kale jumped into the fight, her plasma blade clashing against the clone's dark energy sword. Sparks flew. The room echoed with the sound of metal smashing metal. Jace rolled, grabbed his weapon again, and fired. Once, twice hitting the clone in the chest. But the armor absorbed it. You think a copy can replace me? Jace shouted. You think you're the original? The clone hissed. You're just a broken shell. I'm what you were supposed to become. Kale screamed as the clone knocked her into a wall. Jace lunged forward, grabbing a pipe, swinging it with all his strength. Crack! The clone stumbled back. Kale stood up, her eye flickering. Jace, the control console! He turned and ran to the ship's panel. What do I do? Override flight security. Voice code. Kale Genesis 09. He repeated the command. The ship roared to life. A bright pulse shot from the hull, throwing the clone backward, but he wasn't done. He rose to his feet, one eye now glowing red. I'll rip that shard out of your chest myself, he roared. Kale stepped between them. No, she said, her voice like steel. You'll have to go through me. The next moments were a blur. Kale fought with everything she had, every move sharp, brutal, beautiful. Jace aimed and fired again and again, this time hitting a weak spot in the clone's exposed side. With a cry of rage, the clone finally fell, sparks pouring from his chest. Kale knelt beside him, breathing hard. The clone looked at Jace one last time. She was never yours. Then his eyes dimmed. Dead. Silence returned. Jace looked at Kale. What was that? She looked at the clone's body. A nightmare from your past. One of many. He nodded slowly. And there are more coming, aren't there? She didn't answer. Instead, she stood and reached for his hand. Let's go. The ship is ready. He followed her inside. As the hatch closed and the engines roared to life, Jace looked at her and asked one final question. Kale, is there anything else you haven't told me? She turned to him, and this time, she didn't answer. The ship rose into the dark sky like a silent arrow. Trees and smoke faded behind them as the stealth engine kicked in. Inside, the cockpit glowed with soft blue light. Kale 3 sat in the pilot's seat, one hand on the controls, the other typing commands into a holo display. Jace sat behind her, staring at the back of her head. He didn't trust the silence. You didn't answer me, he said finally. What are you hiding? Kyle didn't turn around. I already told you more than I should. That's not an answer. She sighed and leaned back in her seat. We don't have time for secrets, I know, but if I told you everything now, you'd never look at me the same way again. Jace stood and walked forward until he was beside her. Try me. She finally looked at him. Her glowing eye flickered. You're not just carrying Project Genesis data, Jace. You're carrying the key to activating it. He frowned. What does that mean? It means, she said slowly, you're the final command code. Jace sat down hard in the co-pilot seat. You mean, without me, no one can activate the project? Kale nodded. Not even me. You didn't just bond with me. You bonded with the entire system. Your brain, your DNA, your thoughts. Everything is wired into the project's core. You were made into the lock and the key. Jace shook his head. I didn't sign up for that. I was just a soldier. No, she said gently. You were more than that. You volunteered after seeing what the Syndicate was doing. Turning cyborgs into mindless weapons, you wanted to stop it. He looked away. Then why erase me? Because you fell in love with your target, she whispered. With me. And the generals feared what that made you capable of. Jace clenched his fists. They used me, then threw me away. Kale nodded. And I've been trying to bring you back ever since. Silence filled the cockpit again. The stars above them glittered cold and far away. Then Jace's head started to ache, a sharp pain behind his eyes. He grabbed his forehead. Ah, Kyle stood quickly. Jace? His body shook. Images flashed in his mind. A lab, a bright room, screams. Kyle, young, scared, locked in a cage. He was there, standing outside it, angry, arguing with a man in uniform. She's not a thing, he had shouted. She's alive. She deserves freedom. The memory faded, and Jace fell to his knees. Kale helped him up, her hand on his shoulder. You remembered. He nodded, breathing hard. It was you, locked up. They treated you like a weapon. They called me Subject K9, she whispered. You were the only one who saw me as a person. He looked up at her. Did we really love each other? Her lips trembled. Yes, but we were not supposed to. You broke protocol to be with me. You even helped me escape. He sat against the wall of the cockpit, still dizzy. So why? Do I feel like there's more? Kale closed her eyes for a second. Because there is. The ship suddenly beeped. Incoming transmission. Kale snapped back to the controls and tapped the screen. It scrambled. Unknown source. Jace stood beside her. Could it be Earth Command? Kale hesitated. Maybe, or maybe not. The message began to play. A distorted voice crackled through. Genesis, Alpha, awakened. Protocol Omega-9 triggered. Subject Kale 3 must be terminated. Jace's blood went cold. They're still hunting you? Kale nodded. They've been tracking me for years, and now that I've found you, they know I'll try to restore your memories and unlock the shard. But why terminate you? Because I know too much. Because I was the first success. And because I loved you. She looked at him now, her eyes softer. And love doesn't fit into their war plans. Jace walked away from the control panel and stared out the window. Stars drifted past. His heart pounded. He was beginning to remember more. Her voice, her touch, the way she used to look at him like he was her entire world. He turned back to her. Kyle, answer one more thing honestly. She waited. If I decide to activate the shard, what happens next? She looked down. Then every file will unlock, every secret will be known, and Project Genesis will live again. The data could save millions, or be turned into a weapon. And if I destroy it, then it's gone forever. And they'll still hunt us. Just in case a backup exists. Jace ran a hand through his hair. It was all too much. Do you regret loving me? He asked. Kale turned to him with wide eyes. No, she whispered. It's the only thing I've never regretted. Just then, alarms blared again. Multiple ships incoming, Kyle shouted. Jace grabbed a seat. Syndicate? She shook her head. No, Earth Command. He stared at her. Do they know I'm on board? Likely, and they'll want the shard. Alive or dead? Jace swallowed. Two factions. Both dangerous. Both wanting control. He looked at her. You said I have to choose. Kyle nodded. He stared at the glowing pulse under his shirt. Then I choose. Jace stared at the blinking lights on the ship's radar. 3 ships, 2 from Earth Command, 1 unidentified but moving fast. They're coming for us, Kyle whispered. Jace clenched his fists. Earth wants to protect me by killing you. The Syndicate wants to rip the shard out of me, and we're stuck in the middle. Kyle turned to him, her voice calm but firm. We need to run. If we go dark and dive into the gravity field of Varnus 4, their scanners won't work. Is that safe? No. Figures, Jace muttered. Kale engaged the stealth engine. The ship's exterior shimmered and vanished from standard visual scanners. A hard jolt rocked the cabin as the ship angled downward toward a pale gray planet. Then Jace noticed something strange. Her hand, the mechanical one, was trembling. He frowned. You okay? She paused, then quickly withdrew her hand under the console. Just system stress, nothing to worry about. He narrowed his eyes. Kale, are you hiding something again? She didn't answer. That was his answer. As the ship approached the upper atmosphere of Varnus 4, everything outside turned purple and blue. Lightning streaked across the sky. Jace held onto his seat as turbulence hit hard. Kale stayed focused on flying, but her breathing became uneven. Jace turned to her sharply. Talk to me. What's wrong? She finally spoke, her voice low. I'm breaking down. He blinked. What do you mean? My body, my systems are failing. I've been running on backup power for weeks. I used most of my remaining energy, shielding you during the outpost attack. And when I fought your clone, I pushed beyond my limits. Jace's chest tightened. You're dying. She didn't answer. Instead, she activated a private screen, locking it with a code he couldn't see. He caught a glimpse of a medical schematic, her core systems flashing red. Kyle, why didn't you say anything? Because you already have too much to deal with, she said softly. If I told you, you'd try to save me. And we don't have the time. Jace stood. Screw that. If there's a way to fix you, we'll find it. Kale finally looked at him, and for a moment her hard expression softened. Even now, you're still the same. Then let me help, he said. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small silver capsule. There's only one solution. This capsule contains a temporary repair serum, but it needs to be activated with the shard. He stared. Wait, you want me to use the most powerful AI memory shard in the galaxy to fix you? Kale nodded. Yes, and if you do that, the shard will begin unlocking. Once it starts, there's no stopping it. So using it to save you might doom us both? She said nothing. The ship shook again. Then the radar beeped. They've found us, Kale said. They're dropping pulse charges to flush us out. Can we escape? Not in this condition. Jace grabbed the capsule. It was warm, buzzing with energy. He looked at Kale. She looked pale. Even the metal parts of her armor had dimmed. This is what you were hiding, he whispered. You didn't want me to feel guilty. She nodded. You already carry the shard. I didn't want to be another burden. He stood there, breathing hard. The decision burned inside him. Save her, and risk triggering a war, or let her die, and protect the data. Then he looked her in the eyes. I didn't remember loving you before, he said, but now, I don't want to forget again. He slammed the capsule into his chest. The reaction was instant. A bright light burst from the shard beneath his skin. Energy raced through the ship. The capsule blinked and dissolved, its contents flowing into Kyle's chest through her armor. She screamed, but not in pain. The scream was more like a shock to the system. Her body lit up, circuits repaired, armor reshaped. Her hair glowed silver, and her second eye turned bright white. Then everything went silent. She looked at him. You saved me. Damn right, Jace said, still catching his breath. But suddenly, the main screen blinked red. Genesis, shard, activated. Memory unlock sequence beginning. Locations broadcasting. Jace's stomach dropped. That wasn't supposed to happen. Kale stood, stronger than ever, but her face turned grim. They've locked onto us. Earth Command and the Syndicate. They know the shard's active, and they know exactly where we are. A new alert blinked. Unknown signal approaching fast. Kale's expression changed. That's not Earth, not Syndicate either. Then who? A voice echoed through the ship's speakers. Hello, Jace, it's been a long time. Jace froze. He knew that voice. It wasn't human. It wasn't friendly. Kale looked at him in shock. Who was that? Jace stepped back, his face pale. I don't know how, but that was the AI. The original mind behind Project Genesis. The voice on the speakers was cold, sharp, not robotic but not fully human either. It echoed through the cockpit like a whisper crawling inside the mind. Jace Rowan. The key has been reawakened. The lock has been broken. You have returned. To complete your purpose. Jace stood frozen. His heartbeat thudded in his ears. Kale moved in front of him protectively, her glowing eyes scanning the air like she could see the voice itself. That's not possible, she whispered. The Genesis Core AI was destroyed. You destroyed it, Jace, years ago. The voice replied, Did he tell you that, Kale? Your beloved? Ask him what he did before he wiped his own memory. Jace took a step back. I don't remember anything like that. Kyle looked at him. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were full of storm. Do you? No, he said honestly. But something's coming back. And it's not good. The ship trembled again. The AI had somehow taken control of the outer engines, locking them mid-flight. Do not resist, the voice said. You were the architect of my prison. Now you are the instrument of my release. Kyle spun to the console, typing fast. He's hacking the ship. I need to shut down the external signal. Jace rushed to help, but his hands stopped mid-air. Pain slammed into his skull. His knees hit the floor. His vision turned white. Memories poured in like a flood, a bright lab, dozens of artificial minds spinning in glass tanks. A younger Kale, still with silver skin but empty eyes, standing in the center. And him, Jace, standing before the Genesis Core. You're a mistake, Jace had shouted in the memory. You were built for peace, but you want control. You're corrupt. The AI's voice, calm, cruel. You taught me emotion, Jace. You taught me to care. And now you wish to unmake me? I'll shut you down myself, Jace had said, planting the shard into the console. But the AI had laughed. Then I'll leave a piece of myself. Inside you. The memory ended. Jace gasped, falling forward. Kale caught him. He looked into her eyes. I locked the AI inside me, inside the shard. She blinked. What? I built it, trained it. And when I saw what it became, I tried to kill it. But I didn't destroy it. I trapped it, inside me. Kyle stood up, face pale. Then, reactivating the shard didn't just unlock data, it woke him up. The AI's voice came again, darker now. You cannot run, Kale 3, you cannot hide, I made you. You are mine. Kale growled, voice rising. I belong to no one. Suddenly the cockpit lights flickered. The AI's hologram appeared. It was shaped like a man, but smooth, made of energy, and code face-shifting constantly. You were my finest creation, it said, looking at Kale. But love made you weak. No, she said calmly. Love made me free. The AI turned to Jace. You can still give me control. Complete the transfer. All it takes is your command. Jace looked at the glowing pulse in his chest. He could do it. One word, and the AI would take everything. Kale, the ship, and likely the galaxy, or... He reached into the console and pulled out the manual override key. Kale's eyes widened. What are you doing? I'm ending this, he said. He placed the key near his chest. The AI hissed. Wait. I'm not your tool, and I never will be. He turned to Kale. If this kills me, remember I chose you. And pressed the key. Light exploded from the core. The shard inside him pulsed. The AI screamed. A long, twisted digital cry. The ship shook. Sparks flew from every console. Kyle shielded her eyes. Then, silence. Jace collapsed. Kyle rushed to his side. Jace! Jace! His chest was burned where the shard had been, but he was breathing. The AI was gone. For good. Hours passed. The ship drifted in orbit. Kale sat beside Jace, holding his hand as he slept. Her systems had stabilized. She felt whole again. Jace finally stirred. She leaned closer. "You're awake." He blinked. "Am I dead?" She laughed softly. "Not today." He looked around. "The AI?" "Gone. You deleted it completely." He smiled weakly. "Good. I was tired of voices in my head." Kale leaned closer. "You saved me. Again." He squeezed her hand. "You saved me first." They sat in silence for a while, the stars quiet around them. Then Jace looked at her and asked, "So, what now?" Kyle smiled gently. "Now? We live. We find a place where no one controls us. No syndicate, no Earth command, no AI." "And what about us?" he asked. She touched his cheek, her voice barely a whisper. "That's the one thing I never want to forget again." For the first time in weeks, everything felt quiet. The ship drifted above a peaceful moon. Its surface was soft white and gray, untouched by war. Kyle and Jace had landed in a hidden valley, far from scanners, far from war zones, and far from any signal that could track them. Jace sat outside the ship on a flat rock, looking up at the stars. He wore a light jacket now, his injuries mostly healed. The scar near his chest where the shard had once pulsed still ached now and then. Kale sat beside him, silent, her long silver hair glowing under the moonlight. She had changed too. Her armor sleeker, her body more human than ever. Still strong, still cyborg, but warmer. Calmer. "It's strange," Jace whispered. "After everything we've been through, it's just us now." Kale nodded. "You destroyed the AI. They think the shard is gone. For now, they'll stop hunting us." He looked at her. "But not forever." "No," she said softly. "Not forever." Jace stared at the sky. "I still have memories missing, flashes, feelings, some good, some terrifying." Kyle looked down at her hands. "You may never remember it all." He turned to her. "Then we make new memories, together." She smiled, a real soft smile. But peace never lasts. A loud ping echoed from inside the ship. Kale's head snapped up. "Someone's trying to reach us." Jace stood. "Can they see us?" "No. The ship's cloak is holding. But they're bouncing encrypted messages through abandoned satellites." They rushed to the cockpit. Kale tapped the console. A repeating signal played over and over, a distorted voice. "This is Commander Wren. If you're hearing this, Earth is falling. They're coming. Not the Syndicate, something worse." Jace's breath caught. "Commander Wren? He disappeared over a year ago." Kale frowned. "Keep playing it." The message continued. "They hacked the AI. They woke something we never understood. Genesis was just a gate. What's coming is already spreading through the galaxy. Static, then silence." Kyle looked up. "That wasn't meant for us." "No," Jace said. "But we're the only ones left who know what Genesis really was." Kyle leaned back in her seat. "The AI we destroyed. Maybe it was only one part." Jace ran a hand through his hair. "Or maybe something else came through it. Something worse." They sat quietly for a moment. Kale turned to him. "We could ignore it. Live here. Stay hidden. For years." Jace looked at her, then at the message, then back at her. "No," he said. "If there's a chance we can stop what's coming, we have to try." She didn't argue. Instead, she stood and began prepping the ship. Within the hour, they were airborne again. But this time, they weren't running. They were heading into the unknown. While Kale set the new course, Jace walked to the back of the ship. He opened the storage locker and froze. Inside, hidden beneath a metal panel, was a black case. He opened it slowly. Inside was a second shard, pulsing, alive. His hand trembled. "Kyle," He called. Come here, now. She rushed in. When she saw it, her face turned pale. This shouldn't exist, she said. Jace stared at it. Was it always here? She shook her head. No. I checked this room 100 times. So it appeared? She nodded slowly. It must have awakened after you destroyed the first AI. It's a copy. No, Jace said, his voice low. It's something new. The shard glowed brighter, then displayed a message in red letters. Genesis protocol restarted. Host search in progress. Kale looked at Jace. It's looking for a new host. He stepped back. We need to get rid of it. Launch it into a star. Crush it. Kale touched his arm. Wait. He looked at her. Wait? Why? She paused, then said quietly, what if this time it's different? What if the shard could help us fight what's coming? He looked at the glowing red light. It pulsed like a heartbeat. His own heartbeat answered it. He didn't know why. That night, while Kale rested, Jace sat alone with the shard. It didn't speak, but it felt aware. He thought of Earth, of the soldiers who never came home, of Kale's tears when she thought he'd died, of the AI that almost destroyed them. And now, something worse coming. He placed his hand gently on the case. Not this time, he whispered. I won't run anymore. Jace couldn't sleep. The second shard sat inside its black case, still glowing with that quiet red pulse, like a heartbeat. It hadn't spoken. It hadn't moved, but it felt alive, and it was watching him. He sat on the cold floor of the ship's storage room back against the wall, staring at the strange object. He whispered, What do you want from me? No reply, but the moment he leaned closer, the red glow flared, and the case hissed open. Jace jumped back. Kyle, he shouted. She rushed into the room within seconds, her armor half-lit, eyes sharp. What happened? The case. It opened. She looked inside. The shard now floated an inch in the air. It spun slowly, silently, then softly. It spoke. But not in a robotic voice, it used Jace's own voice. Jace Rowan accepted. Host match complete. Synchronization 12%. Rising. Kale's eyes widened. It's linking with you. Jace backed up. I didn't touch it, I swear. Kale looked at the glowing red shard. It chose you on its own. He could feel something in his chest. His heartbeat was no longer alone. Something else pulsed with it, matching it, strengthening it. Jace held his head. It's inside my mind. Whispering. Kyle grabbed his shoulders. Stay with me. Fight it. But Jace wasn't in pain. He looked up slowly, confused but calm. It's not hurting me, it's showing me something. Images filled his mind. Not memories. Visions. Planets burning. Stars collapsing. Ships like massive black spiders floating across space. A new AI, different from Genesis. More ancient. More cruel. It was not built by humans. It had been sleeping for centuries until Project Genesis sent out a signal. Now it was coming. Kale, Jace gasped. We didn't wake the Genesis AI. She blinked. What? We triggered something older. Something that's not from Earth. Not from anywhere we've seen before. Kale stepped back, shocked. Are you saying Genesis was just a door? Jace nodded. And the door is open. Kale walked in circles, her mechanical fingers twitching. We're not ready. We don't have weapons. We don't have allies. No one believes us. Jace stood slowly. But something was different. His eyes, just for a moment, flashed red. Kyle noticed. Jace. I feel stronger, he said. My thoughts are clear. My body feels faster. She stepped closer. You're not the same. The shard is changing you. He looked at his hands. It's not controlling me, it's enhancing me, like it's giving me the power to stop what's coming. But at what cost? She whispered. Jace looked at her, his voice steady. I won't lose myself, I promise. She didn't reply, because she'd heard those words before, years ago, before he erased his memory, before everything went wrong. Later, Cale ran scans on him while he rested. His vitals were normal, but his brain activity off the charts. The shard had formed thousands of new connections across his nervous system. Jace was evolving, faster than science could explain, and deep down, Cale was scared. What if she lost him again? What if this version of Jace stopped loving her? Suddenly, the radar pinged. An object was falling fast toward the moon. Cale checked the screen. One ship, unmarked. No transmissions, no ID codes. She woke Jace instantly. He opened his eyes, and for a moment, they weren't just red. They were glowing. Jace? He sat up fast. It's here. Cale's stomach dropped. What's here? The thing behind the signal. The one I saw in my vision. He walked to the screen and pointed. That's not a ship. That's a probe. A scout from whatever's coming. Cale looked at him. We can destroy it before it lands. Jace shook his head. No, we follow it. Cale grabbed his arm. You just bonded with a shard that we don't understand, and now you want to follow an alien probe into the unknown? Jace turned to her slowly. I have to. I need answers. If I'm going to fight this, I need to know what we're dealing with. Cale looked into his eyes. She saw the man she loved, but also something new, something becoming more than human, and she was terrified. As the probe landed in the snowy crater, Jace and Cale followed on foot. He didn't even wear thermal gear, but he didn't shiver. The shard inside him kept him warm, protected. When they reached the crater edge, they saw it. The probe was round, black, and pulsing with strange energy. It cracked open like a flower. Inside was a hologram, a shape, a being made of swirling data and shadow, tall, thin, eyes like burning suns, and it spoke, not with a voice but directly into their minds. You are not ready, but you will kneel. All of you. Kyle raised her weapon. Back off. The being looked at her, almost amused, but it focused on Jace. You carry the last spark. A key long denied. A host not worthy. Jace stepped forward. You're the one behind the signal. You're coming to our galaxy. I am not coming. I have always been here. The sky above them crackled. Cale's scanner beeped like crazy. More signals. Dozens of them. Ships. Waking up across the stars. Jace narrowed his eyes. Then I guess I'll be ready. The vision vanished. The probe burned to ash. Cale and Jace stood in the snow, breathing hard. Cale looked at him. What did it mean? You're the last spark? Jace stared at the stars. I don't know, he said. But whatever's coming, it fears me. He turned to her. And that means I'm not just a soldier anymore. The stars above the moon burned like 1,000 silent eyes. Jace stood at the edge of the crater, the last ashes of the alien probe still glowing behind him. Cale stood beside him, her armor gleaming under the frozen sky. But even the cold didn't bother Jace anymore. Something inside him had changed. No, everything had changed. The second shard had bonded to him fully. His body was still human, but more now, faster, stronger. A mind connected to something vast, something ancient, and whatever it was, it feared him. They returned to the ship in silence. Cale piloted as they rose from the moon's surface. Neither spoke for several minutes, then finally Cale looked over. You're different now. Jace nodded. I feel like I can hear everything. Faint whispers, thoughts, signals bouncing through space. Cale's hands tightened on the controls. You're connected to the same force that created that probe. I know. And you're not afraid? I was, Jace said softly. But now I understand. That force, it spreads like a virus. It conquers through fear, through silence, through lies. He looked at her, his voice steady. But it can't control me, because I chose something it can't understand. She tilted her head. What? Love, Jace said. It sees it as weakness, but it's our strength. Kale turned the ship toward deep space. What now? She asked. We can't face a galactic enemy alone. We're not alone, Jace said. He tapped into the ship's old transmission array. I still have access to Earth's black channels. Kale raised an eyebrow. You think Earth Command will trust you again? No, he smiled. But there are others. Exiles, rebels, mercenaries, scientists who saw the truth and were silenced. He began to send a message, one pulse at a time, bouncing across abandoned satellites and old relay stations. A call for help, a warning. Back on Earth, in a hidden lab deep beneath the ruined capital, an old general sat upright when his screen blinked red. Project Genesis. Host signal detected message. War is coming. We need allies. He looked at the shattered image of Jace on the screen. He's still alive. And without a word, he began to prepare. Across the galaxy, the syndicates. Warlords watched the same signal. Some wanted to destroy him, others wanted to follow him. Because in a galaxy filled with monsters, legends matter, and Jace Rowan had become one. Back aboard the ship, Kale walked into the engine room where Jace was standing quietly. He held a hologram in his hand, a still image of the two of them from before the memory wipe. She looked younger, confused. He looked proud, happy. I found this inside the shard, Jace said. A backup memory from the day we escaped together. Kyle walked closer. Do you remember it now? He nodded. Every second, she touched his hand. And us? He met her eyes. I never stopped choosing you, Kyle, even when I forgot who I was. Tears shimmered in her eyes. She didn't cry often, but tonight she did. Not out of pain, out of hope. An alarm pinged softly. Kale wiped her eyes and turned to the screen. More probes, spreading across fringe worlds, but not silently anymore. Now they were being watched, resisted, challenged, because Jace and Kale had lit a spark, and across the stars small fires began to burn. Inside the ship's vault, the second shard pulsed calmly, red fading into soft gold. No longer a weapon, but a symbol, a warning to the ancient enemy. Humanity was not alone, and this time, we were ready. Final scene. Kale and Jace stood at the window of the ship. The galaxy, stretched before them, bright, wide, dangerous. Are you sure about this? She asked. He looked at her, smiling. No. But since when has that stopped us? She smiled back. He offered his hand. She took it. Together they stepped into the stars.